Earlier in the calm of the night, Mallory and I stood outside, enjoying a wet Florida evening, each other's company, and the crisp, clean air of the coast, as the silence of the night was pierced with a sharp rub of struggling rubber, followed by the desperate gasp of metal grasping and snapping against its own strength. Shocked, our eyes snapped to meet and reflect a look of panic, and then understanding. We took flight, our limbs grasping for traction as we scrambled up the road, barefoot on gravel, and then barefoot on concrete. Our now soaked feet pounded the dirt and stone in reflection of the cold fear of concern and the unknown that threatened to overcome our lungs and shorten our breath. As we grew closer to the scene, the dim flickering headlights struggled towards the heavens as if calling out for assistance. We peered down into the ditch and past the dying headlights that cast our god-sized shadows upward into the tree line, to play out the scene of a panicked back and forth, assessing the situation on a grand scale. It was a lot to take in. For a few moments we strained our eyes against the hard light, blinded, concerned. If not for the rattling sounds of pained effort that asserted and escaped the girl's lips with each breath, I might have thought she was dead. Having not wore a seatbelt, she had been thrown against the passenger side of her car by some hard impact and laid there, neck draped weakly and unnaturally through her passenger side window. Where they weren't broken, her windshield and windows were garnished with the tasteless aesthetic of crimson blood. Matching the exterior, the car's interior was a whirlwind of chaos and unrecognizable destruction. It was immediately obvious that she wasn't conscious, in danger, and that when she woke up she had a world of pain to inherit. Her car shuddered, somehow managing to continue running while shuddering a skipping country song from her CD player. Meanwhile, her windshield wipers struggled at a 90-degree angle in irony, as if to say, "What's left to do but jazz hands?" Her car was trashed, twisted and turned in an unrecognizable heap of metal tucked into a muddy ditch on the side of the road. As I tried to wake the young woman, Mallory called 911 and calmly described the situation. I yanked keys from the ignition, hoping to put a stop at least to some of the distractions at play. Mostly my attempt focused to cease the 4-second loop of country music on repeat. With a few loud clangs, the guts of her car issued a final gasp of metal slapping together, grinding to a halt, and finally permanently ceasing. The young girl stirred and swore, blinking away confusion and what I assumed was a terrible headache. She rubbed her face and eyes, smearing a large amount of blood across her face as she tried to collect herself. The same blood dripped from her ears and rolled hastily down her neck, matting her blonde hair to the skin on her chest. She took in her surroundings just long enough to sputter a few confused words, and then lie. Understanding the consequences of her situation, she swore that she wasn't driving, and claimed whoever was driving disappeared. Panicked, the possibility that another person lay mangled in the woods terrified me. The fact that her front windshield was out only added plausibility to her claim and panic to my voice. It wasn't until I threatened to go looking in the woods for a body that she came clean and admitted to driving the now totaled car. I helped the shaken girl from her car as she begged me to pull her car out of the ditch and to call Brad. I explained that I didn't, nor did anyone have the strength to move her car, and sat her down with my wife on the soft dirt on the roadside. She'd been drinking and was seething with anger at Brad, who she was attempting to FaceTime while driving. Questions were answered, and it was determined that she lived nowhere near this ditch in Jacksonville, and the only folly that drew her into the situation was a lover spat with Brad, who was ignoring her. Apparently, after a 12-hour day of struggling and looking for her boyfriend, this Georgia girl became overwhelmed and emotionally distraught. Upset that Brad would abandon her in an unfamiliar city, she sought comfort at the bottom of a warm bottle, yet didn't find it, finding instead a recipe for disaster. While her story wrapped its details around my mind, sirens could be heard in the distance, creeping closer and gathering in number. This panicked the woman, and she begged me to help her with the police and asked me to lie for her. Mallory's deep blue eyes made contact with the young woman's, and as I knew she would be, the young woman was struck. She hesitated for a brief moment as she peered into Mallory's welcoming gaze, drinking it in like the cold blue rain that soaked us. My wife's piercing blue eyes are usually the first thing someone notices about her, but not simply because of their natural beauty either. Yet, because their perfect summer day, not a cloud in the sky color palette, works as a reminder of better days fondly recalled, and as a promise of those still yet to come. Her colors are pure, beautiful blues mingling in the harmony, and as I often tell her, are frankly shocking for most people at first sight. I fell deeper in love with my wife as I watched her. She comforted this young woman as if they'd known each other for years, gently placing her hand on the back of the girl's neck and lovingly squeezing, reminding the poor doll that she was lucky not to have any broken bones. Mallory's lips weaved a structure of artful compassion as her voice filled the young girl's mind with helpful assurances. My wife's words, as always, laced with the heaviness of a mother's sweet love and understanding, lifted the young woman's spirits as we handed her well-being to the crowd of first responders now gathered at the scene. As we walk away, our fingers laced and our hearts truly grateful, I am elated. Even within the grasp of such a large world of chaos and chance, she is truly wonderful and magical. My wife's positivity and empathy is a flame indistinguishable, and truly the stuff of inspiration and something I aspire to. When I grow up, I want to be more like my wife.
So ladies, please take care of yourselves. No amount of brads is worth this sort of suffering. Don't give attention or passionately seek out someone who won't even answer your phone calls or give you the time of day. You're a douche, Brad. You almost killed that poor girl. To everyone else, keep your eyes on the damn road and stop playing with girls' hearts.